Hey everyone, welcome back. Yes, the podcast is back. I missed last week, but that just couldn't be helped. So, other than unforeseen circumstances like what happened last week, there will be a podcast every week, Monday night, around 10:30. I can sometimes be between 10:30, 10:45, something like that, but the podcast is not going to stop. And today, we're oddly enough going to have an episode where we're going to be talking a lot about Sony. I've said it when I started this podcast, we will always be mainly Nintendo focused, but um, I think currently there isn't that much happening with the Switch. When we're talking about news stories, we are going to, as usual, going to be looking at all the new Switch games coming out that I think are worthy to keep an eye on for the next week. But when we're talking about other news for Nintendo, it's been pretty stale for the last couple of weeks. However, there's been a lot of stuff happening on Sony's end, and it's a lot of stuff that I think is worth talking about. And I'm even going to try and give a little take on what this could mean for uh, Nintendo in the future, because we are in a sort of console heavy market where more and more companies are trying to get into the mix, especially with handhelds. And I think that this is a clear indication of maybe what Nintendo needs to do as well. Now, before I get into all that, quick update. Why was there no podcast last week? Now, I know a lot of the regular viewers probably came to my stream on last Friday and I explained it. So we're going to go over it super quick here. Simply, Monday night, my wife had to work out of town. Running the podcast with the kids in the house without my wife to wrangle them in was undoable. And unfortunately, then I started also feeling really sick on Monday night, and I wound up having strep throat. So, strep throat affected my vocal cords. I basically lost most of my voice. I couldn't record any videos for the week. So that's why last week there were no videos. It wasn't because it was planned that way. I just couldn't record. So that is what happened. Tonight, we're also going to be looking at the Concord failure. Now, I know we're a little late on the story, okay? I know it's a little late, but I still wanted to wrap this up because a couple of podcasts ago, before we knew Concord was shutting down, I did give my 2 cents on why I think the game was failing as hard as it was failing. And I think I want to just really close that circle and go back on why Concord failed, in my opinion, what lessons can be learned from it, and at the same time, though, it's not going to be a pure let's be a downer. I want to celebrate two major victories, though, which are Astrobot and Black Wukong, which I think are lessons to be learned from the gaming industry. Concord will be missed. I'm not sure it's going to be missed by many people. And, I'm not saying not saying it's a bad game. In my opinion, it was a very, very poorly marketed, presented game. And there were some very bad choices made in the development of the game and the artistic direction of the game. And that's what we're going to look at tonight. So, it's you probably will have heard similar opinions from a lot of people, but I'm going to give my take on it. And if you guys know me, I'm generally very analytical. I like numbers and things like that. So before we look at the designs, which is a huge part of it, I'm also going to look at unfortunately, how the game was marketed, how it came out, and maybe the focus on some weird elements that really cut down the target audience for this game. But yeah. So that is going to be our podcast tonight. We have some great games coming up for the Switch, so we do have quite a few trailers. So we're going to get moving on our first story for tonight. And we're going to start with the PS5 Pro, which is $700. Now, I just need one tiny second here. There we go. Sorry about that. I had forgotten to set up properly my screen share here. But basically, don't worry, we're not going to watch the video. It is a long video, 9 minutes and 39 seconds. I'm just going to let it play on mute in the background to give a little bit of visual aid as we talk about this. And, you know, like I said, I'm an analytical person. So I want to start by explaining to me why I think Sony made the move that they did with the choice of not including a disk drive and whatnot. I'm gonna sort of say, in my opinion, from like a marketing, not a marketing, but a manufacturer's perspective, what I think the reasoning was behind this. However, after that, we're going to be talking about the pricing and basically my thoughts about it. So the fact that I sort of might present at the beginning why Sony did this in a sort of neutral fashion, that's just the type of person I am. I like to first say, like, okay, why is this happening? Why did they choose this price point? Why did they decide to not include a disk drive and all that? After that, I'm going to give my opinion, however, on what I think, what the message is that they're giving with this, and also how I think it could have obviously been a lot better in this case. However, I'm maybe not going to be as harsh of a stance because I do want to bring a sort of reality into context, because a lot of people are saying something that's it's been sort of getting on my nerves over time, but we'll take a look. So first of all, the clear answer why the system will come with a disk drive separate is very simple. It's that they want to produce one system. They want to produce one system and an add-on separately. And from a manufacturing perspective, it is way easier to sell those two components separately rather than trying to make a bundle with the disk drive compared to a bundle without the disk drive, like a digital only model. It's basically way easier to say, buy this unit, and if you want a disk drive, here's the disk drive. What that means is that basically they don't have to stock two different console bundles in stores. And I explained it the last time we talked about the PS5. You don't wind up with one of the two bundles being a shelf warmer, which happens with a lot of systems, especially right now when if you're about to spend, and I always take the perspective of the PS5. If you think of the base model, the PS5 was $500 for the model with the disk drive and $449 for the model without the disk drive. In my personal opinion, I'm like, if I'm about to spend almost $500 on a console, it isn't $50 more or less that is going to influence my ultimate decision. And why would I want to shoot myself in the foot where if I don't buy the version with a disk drive, well, that means if one of my buddies has a game, he's done with it, and he's like, hey, you want to play this game? I can't take his disc and just pop it into PS5. You understand what I mean? At that point, I'm like, the $50 that I'm going to spend on that disk drive over the time I'm going to have the console is definitely going to be made up, because with games being $60, if one time one of my friends finishes a game after like a week and passes it on, you're definitely going to be playing it. So I do think if you look, the PS5 digital only often became a shelf warmer in stores. Sony didn't want that. You don't want consoles sitting on store shelves while stores are asking to more stock of the regular PS5. Number two, it also is going to reduce the it's going to help the ability to have the systems in stock because you don't have to have two different production units. I'm going to check out the chat in a few minutes. I just want to finish my sec because I see some stuff going on where Anthony might be feeling Might have had a little problem or something, but we'll check that out. By the way, I wanted to say thank you, Cristobal, for your 34-month membership. Sorry, I forgot to call it out when I saw it. I was sort of getting things set up. My bad. Thank you so much, Cristobal. Okay, now getting back to it really quick. So basically, from a Sony perspective, I get why the base bundle doesn't have the disk drive. However, if you look at the console, $700 is actually a $250 markup. Because a lot of people are like, hey, the base console is $200 more. No. You need to compare the base console to the digital-only console, because that's basically what you're getting. You're getting a digital-only console, so you're actually comparing $450 to $700. Now that's where the jump is insane. That is not, if you look at percentage-wise, we're talking about like a 40% markup. Like, that is a lot. And honestly, were the $700 console, if it had a disk drive in it, I think we would be hearing almost nothing about this pricing. The fact that you have to buy an $80 attachment to have a disk drive on top of it is the insane part in all of this. Because that means that you're almost at an $800 console to have a PlayStation 5 that can run games. That is a lot. That is a massive amount of money for a console. Or I would say it's a massive increase to the pricing of the console. I don't know if the stream buffered there for a second. If it did, so sorry about that. But yeah, that is a massive, massive price difference. And to me, it's like a $50 price point where Sony could have really garnered some goodwill with the community. Because like I said, if you pop out the $700 console with the disc drive included, you know, I think no one would have been complaining. Or if it would have been $650 and the disc drive, they say, hey guys, it's $50 cheaper. Once again, I think we'd be in business. Like, I don't think people would be complaining at all. So it's really, really sad that, like, for $50, and that's not all. They aren't even including the stand that came with the first PS5. And they're including just the base normal controller for the PS5. They're not even giving you the better model. That is, to me, really where you can see that Sony is not trying at all to feel like, hey, we have a lot, you know, we're giving you like good value for your money. Yeah, it's insane how they could have garnered some goodwill with tiny things like the stand. Like, even right now, I think Sony, give me a second, man. Everything is going crazy on my internet here. Sorry, guys. Little technical snafus. My internet's being a little bit of a pain in the butt right now. It was doing this a little earlier when I was trying to set up the stream, which is why I was like 5 minutes late. However, I thought everything was pretty much fixed. Can I get a okay in the chat if you can at least hear me and that, like, I'm not frozen on screen? Because in my live view of the stream, I seem to be frozen. Can I get anyone in chat saying, no, you're fine, or okay, good. So I'm going to keep on going. I'm just going to assume that things are good. It just annoys me because I can't actually see that I'm okay. However, I do see here that that the awesome trailer for the PS5 is frozen. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to back it up here. It doesn't really matter in the end. But yeah, that's the insane part, is that how Sony didn't even try to garner any goodwill. To me, that's the sad part of it. If I was Sony, one thing I would do right now, no joke, I would come out with a statement like, "Hey guys, our bad. You know, there should at least really be a stand coming with the PS5. We're gonna ship out stands to all the stores, and they're gonna give it to you for free with the PS5s." You know what I mean? Like, if they would do that, no joke, I think they could actually make a huge, awesome PR move just with something as small as that. I don't think it would fix everything. It's not going to convince people who don't want to pay the $700 price tag to not pay it, but it'll be like, you know, guys, we listened to you and you guys were right. Here's a little something we're going to do for you. Right now, we can't lower the price of the console, but what we can do for you is at least give you like the stand in there, something like that. Because honestly, if they right now, it just feels like they're gouging the market because they know that they're the premium console. And that's where people like, you're going to get some short-term profit, but you're going to get some long-term losses. Because you will just be the guys who gouged us when the other consoles weren't doing well. And I'm not saying the Switch isn't doing well. It's just that I don't think that there's any direct competition between the Switch and the PS5. What I mean is that normally a gamer that wants to game on the PS5, specifically for the games that the PS5 offers, isn't going to be like, okay, I'm not buying a PS5 because I want to buy a Switch. Like, I know a lot of people that have both. I have both. But I don't think it's going to be one of those situations where the person's like, okay, I'm only going to buy a PS5 or I'm only going to buy a Switch, because the two game markets are so different. Yeah, the controllers are going up by $10. Like, and honestly, the whole time it feels like a Concord tax. It feels like a Concord tax. It feels like Sony lost so much freaking money on a game that they were banking on that they just decided to tax the community for shitting on that game. No joke. When I saw that, especially the $5 more to the controllers, it really felt like a middle finger that said, you guys didn't buy Concord? Well, you're going to pay for that on the other end. It's pretty insane that they set up two big L's like that in a row. No, I know, and I'm probably joking because I don't really think that is directly the cause for the pricing. I just think that they are just knowingly gouging the market because they know that enthusiasts are going to pay it. And honestly, let's say you do not have a regular PS5 and you're sort of in your mind, should I buy a PS5 or a PS5 Pro? I do think a lot of people are going to be like, well, I think I'm going to buy the Pro. You know what I mean? If you have the money, you're going to spend it for the better console. When you didn't have the choice, you won't. But I'll give myself as an example. I don't think a lot of sort of mid-range PlayStation players are going to upgrade. I think this is the console that PlayStation wants to convince the people that haven't bought a console yet to jump into the PS5. But that's at the same time so weird that they made it so unappealing of a bundle. I'm sorry, getting to a bad section of the video again. I'm hoping my internet stuff like clears up. It's really bad. Hey, by the way, guys, don't forget to hit the like button. I'm really bad at reminding that and doing some self what you can call it, self marketing or whatnot. But please hit the like button. Helps drive the stream to more people. And obviously, the more people we have, the better things are. Chat gets livelier, and we can have a way better discussion overall. But honestly, those are my thoughts. I actually find it just sad that they were so close to being able to offer something that people could have got people really excited after the L they took for Concord, and they didn't. They rather just said, like, let's stick to our guns. Let's put it as expensive as we can make it without having people totally flip out. Like, I know people are annoyed right now, but you've still got, like, it's still that scenario where they're like, I wish it would have been cheaper, but I'll buy it. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's a lot of people in that zone, and that's what they were banking on. And apparently they're sold out, so apparently it's going well for the sales. But yeah. No. I said that's what it felt like. So if you want the people with the tinfoil hats, you know what I mean? I'm not one of those people. Like, a company is not that dumb, okay? They're not going to be like, oh, our game failed, we're going to raise our controller prices, okay? But you do have the tinfoil wearing people that are going to be like, oh, that's why it's more expensive. That's why they're raising controller prices. I think that's like a ludicrous sort of thing, but I had to say it because I think some people are going to feel it. You know what I mean? Like, the conspiracy seekers are going to feel that that's why. The one thing that I think is related between the PS5 Pro and Concord, however, is I actually think that Concord was going to be a centerpiece of the presentation for the PS5. I think they were going to come out with a, like, even more enhanced version of Concord. You know how for all the crap that Concord had, the visuals of the cutscenes were amazing. Okay? If you look at the visuals of the cutscenes from Concord, they were extremely high quality, they were extremely well made. And I think that they were going to show off that the PS5 can do amazing things with that game. And I think they had to cut it out of the presentation because they shut it down. And that actually might have been why the shutdown happened so fast. Not only because they were losing shit tons of money, but also because they sort of wanted it out of the way before they present the PS5 Pro. And you know what? I think we're going to leave it there for the PS5 Pro because I don't think there's much more I can say at this point. People out there that are convinced are going to buy it. I personally say, don't upgrade. Like, don't upgrade unless really dropping $700 on the console means nothing to you. I would just say, just don't upgrade. You know what I mean? Stick with your normal PS5. And it's really going to be good. And the one thing, however, that, sorry, I forgot this part. The one thing I do want to clarify, a lot of people are like, hey, at this price point, why would I buy a PS5 when I can build a computer for almost as much money? That is totally untrue. That is, like, totally untrue. Okay? I just want to be very clear on that. $700 computer. Oh, you can build a $700 computer. However, if you think it's going to run 60 frames per second with ray tracing on at 4K, you're living in dreamland. Like, mega dreamland. And, like, if you don't, I just popped out one, exactly. A computer that can run 4K starts at $2,000. It starts at $2,000. And that's why I'm like, a bunch of people are like, oh, just build a PC at this point. No. Like, if your point is to do that because you want to save money, forget it. I just took out, like, one computer part. Let's say you want to build a really good gaming PC. Just the RTX 4080 just the graphics card. Now, this is Newegg, but there's a bunch of other stuff. The cheapest graphics card you can get, and these are open boxes, are $900. The first one that is not an open box is $1,000, $989. And you don't have a CPU yet. And I would say that a CPU that can easily perform at the level you want is going to be a minimum of $500. So we're already at $1,500 just for the graphics card. And let's just imagine that you want to try it with a 4070, like one notch lower. You're still at the price of a PS5 just for the graphics card. Just for the graphics card. Like, we're talking like $549. Once again, like, these are open boxes. Let's put it in cheapest order. Hold on. Featured items, lowest price. Like, you can, okay, open boxes are 500. Open box. Like, you're, yeah, 550. Like, you're at 550 just for the graphics card. And I'm telling you right now, your 4070 is going to do good, but you're not going to run every game at 60 frames per second in 4K. Just not happening. And the reason why is I'm not saying that necessarily the graphics unit in the PS5 is... No new Switch 2 rumors. Honestly, I didn't hear anything that I feel is even worth mentioning. Okay, so no Switch 2 rumors. We are going to look at the new Nintendo bundle, but unfortunately, it's as much as Nintendo. I'm like complaining a bit about Sony. Nintendo took an L too, I think, with their Switch bundle this year. It really is. Yeah, I go to Canada Computers for my parts. By the way, Canadian chick. I bought my whole computer was bought at Canada Computers. Every part was bought there. So don't worry, I know about Canada Computers. I'm just, since we're talking US prices, I wanted a US based company so we could easily look at prices. But anyway, the point being is just don't listen to those people telling you, hey, you can build a PC. Okay? It's just totally a ridiculous idea. Okay? But now we're going to close the door on the PS5, because if not, I'm going to just keep complaining. Because part of me wanted to upgrade. I'll be honest, the last thing, part of me wanted to upgrade. I wanted to sell my PS5 and grab a PS5 Pro. At this point, it's not going to happen, because here in Canada, it's above $1,000 to get a PS5 with a disc drive. It is a little bit, completely insane. Okay, so next, let's move on to, since we were talking about it already, Concord's failure. Give me just a sec. Yeah, here. This is a nice background image, right? Concord's failure. Now, Concord's failure. How many ways did they go wrong? How many ways did they go wrong? Number one, marketing-wise, for a game like this, I do agree that Sony did a very poor job. Why? Because none of the marketing, none of the trailers really tell you why Concord is definitely better than other games, other than trying to sell the idea of those storyline cutscenes that were going to be added each and every week to it. Yeah, we're going to look at the image, because that is part of the problem. It is part of the problem. I'm not going to lie. It is part of the problem. And we're going to look at the image. And, understand me. I have no ill will towards a developer. I want games to succeed. But I'm sort of glad that this one failed. And not only just because of Concord, it's like I said, I'm really glad that this failed in the sense that I think we're at the point where developers think that live service games, they can push just any type of garbage on people and they're going to make money. The fact that because some other live service games have failed, but they didn't fail hard enough where the studio's like, oh my God, it's over. Like this failed, this didn't just fail. This like is going to be a historic failure. A game with this much money behind it, failing this hard, where like even indie games that come out on the Switch and on Steam get more players than a game like this, is absolutely insane. Like I'll tell you, years from now, we're going to be referring to the Concord failure as like a milestone. Like the next time a game fails, we're going to be like, at least it wasn't as bad as Concord. Or if ever a game actually beats this bad record, if you will, like negatively beats this record, we're going to be like, holy crap, it failed harder than Concord. Like this is a milestone game for failure. Okay? But beyond the marketing, I think they forgot one of the most important parts of a live service game and getting people to play the game. Is that number one, you have to tell the people why this game is different than the others, but rather they just made it feel like Temu version of other games. You know what I mean? It seemed like the knockoff version of other games. And what they didn't help themselves is almost every character in their game also feels like a knockoff of another property. And the characters that don't feel like knockoffs just look completely ridiculous and stupid. Like the designs just are unappealing. And one of the most important thing when you look at a hero shooter is like, you say like, oh dude, I can't wait to try out that guy, or I can't wait to try out that girl. Why? Because that's what gets people excited. You're like, oh dude, man, his abilities look fun, awesome. They never highlighted any of the abilities of the characters individually. Like they did a bit for the girl that does the fire girl. Like you got a little bit in the cutscene. I think it was for her and Starchild, the big tank guy. But like the rest of these characters, no idea what they do. And on top of it, their visual presentation doesn't communicate for a lot of them what type of character they are. You look at any character from Overwatch, and without even playing the game, just from looking at the visual model of the character, you have a decent idea of what their role is in the game. You know which one are tanks. You know which ones are going to be snipers. You know which ones are going to be like, in your face damage dealers, just from the visual presentation of the characters. And they totally forgot about this in the game. Like, there's maybe two that, okay, she looks like a tank. She looks like a tank. This guy's probably going to be tanky. But all the rest of these guys... Oops, give me a sec there. But all the rest of these guys, like... Okay, I don't know, she has like a ratchet in her hand, so maybe she fixes stuff. This guy, like, he looks like a bad version of a gangster, and he has like a sort of like futuristic Tommy gun looking thing. This is, Temu version of Avatar. Like, because this is pure like Temu version of Avatar with a, with a machine gun. So I'm guessing she's going to be like an up close damage dealer, maybe someone that has like agility. We've got we've got weird chick with a rocket launcher and a helmet that looks like from NASA in the 1950s. Honestly, Starchild has probably one of the relatively most interesting designs in the game. So I'll give them that this guy could have worked. This guy, you could put him in the roster of something else, and you get an idea that he's probably a brawler. Because he doesn't look quite tanky enough, because he isn't like wearing armor and stuff. Doesn't have a shield or anything. What's this? Like, just what is this? This, I think this, like, awards for the worst designs overall is that, which I don't know, even I can't even, like, it basically looks like a private detective overall, that they pull all the life out of every image that I saw. Like, every image that I've seen, this has like everything looks muted. The dumbest ass robot I've ever seen for a shooter. We've got like Mrs. Freeze in the wrong color. This guy looks like he's going to play paintball. This is why I said this is one of the worst designs overall. This guy, you look at him, and I think he's going to play paintball. No comment here, okay? Like, no comment. I don't think we need it. This is the only character that you can look at, and she looks like she has a sniper rifle. But then she looks like she's dressed like a homeless person. So I guess this is homeless person sniper. You're right. It looks like a freaking Gatorade container with legs and arms. And look, he's carrying his own secondary Gatorade container right there. We have elderly Sindel from freaking Mortal Kombat. We've got rip-off Guardians of the Galaxy. Okay, my God. The guy that whistles and controls the arrow. And this. Oh my God, this looks so stupid. So I'm like, how are you supposed to put this lineup of characters and get excited if you don't even know how the characters play? The visual designs don't communicate it. And on top of it, none of the visual designs make you feel like, outside of maybe Starchild, like these characters are cool. I think they forgot too that part of releasing a good game is the game has to look cool. And the problem is, I think a lot of the people making this game just couldn't identify that. And here's the problem too. And we're going to talk about, I said it last time. I have no problem with like identity politics and all that. So from a personal perspective, if you want to put that at the forefront of your game with the pronouns and all that kind of stuff, I have no issue with that. Just be aware that you are most likely, like, you have to choose the kind of game where that has to be sort of part of your target. Because, and that's why I'm saying from a personal perspective, I don't care. But if I'm looking at this from a marketing perspective, there's a reason companies have target audiences. Okay? The concept of a target, and I think the concept of a target audience, a lot of people don't understand it. Because they say, I'll give you an example. Let's take a hero shooter like Concord. Your target audience is 18 to 35 males. Okay? What that means is that if you're releasing a hero shooter, the majority of players who are interested in hero shooters are in the category of 18 to 35-year-old males. Now, people always are like, "Yeah, but I'm a girl and I'm 40 and I like playing hero shooters." Of course, target audience doesn't mean that people outside of the target audience can't play the game. It just means that when you're making your marketing decisions and when you're making your development, your design decisions, you always have to sort of prioritize your target audience. Because if you don't prioritize the choices for your target audience, you're going to lose the majority of your possibilities for sales. And that doesn't mean you can't include these elements in your game. It just has to not be a guiding principle for it. And the best example of that is, once again, if you take Overwatch. Tracer's supposed to be gay. Do I care that Tracer's gay? Nah, I'll play her anyway, because she's fun. The game looks good. The character's interesting. It plays well. And it's inclusive. You've got a character with, you know what I mean, a different identity. If you want to put a sort of gender neutral character in it, no problem. Dude, do it. Just, I don't see the need to make that your primary element for a game in a category that is not your target audience. Does that make sense? That's why I'm explaining that from a personal perspective, I don't care. It's just from a marketing perspective, it makes absolutely no sense. Because you're targeting a market that, if you look statistically in the US, people that identify as LGBTQ plus is about, like, the numbers vary, okay?